So you're wondering who's going to play Haymitch Abernathy in the new Hunger Games prequel movie, The Sunrise on the Reaping? Well, it's Joseph Zada who landed the main role as Haymitch. He's actually coming off another exciting book adaptation, the TV series We Were Liars, that's dropping on Prime Video this June, where he plays a character named Johnny Sinclair. Deadline was the first to spill the beans on Zada's casting, and they also announced who's playing Haymitch's love interest, Lenore Dove Baird. Speaking of Lenore, Whitney Peak is stepping into that role. Lenore is a descendant of the Covey, a nomadic troupe of performers that Suzanne Collins expanded on in her first Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You might remember Lucy Gray Bird, played by Rachel Zegler, who was also part of the same group in the story. Now there's a bunch of other familiar faces and new ones joining the cast. Mckenna Grace is set to play Maisie Donner, another tribute from District 12. For fans of the original movies, you'll be glad to hear that Jesse Plemons is taking on Plutarch Heavensby's role, the same character that the late Philip Seymour Hoffman played in Catching Fire and the Mockingjay films. Kelvin Harrison Jr. will be B.T. Latier, a role previously played by Jeffrey Wright, and Maya Hawke is on board as Wiress, originally played by Amanda Plummer. Wiress is a smart, quirky character who won her Hunger Games in a mirrored arena and ends up mentoring the District 12 tributes in the book. Lily Taylor is also joining as Mags, who used to be portrayed by Lynn Cohen. Mags comes from District 4 and helps mentor the District 12 tributes in Haymitch's games. On the creative side, Francis Lawrence is coming back to direct this prequel. He's no stranger to the franchise, having directed The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Catching Fire, and both Mockingjay films. The screenplay is written by Billy Ray, who adapted the original film. And guess what? Ralph Fiennes, who's basically Voldemort from Harry Potter, is taking on the villainous role of President Snow. Snow was played by Donald Sutherland in the first 4 movies, and Tom Blythe played the younger version in the first prequel. Then there's Ben Wong as Wyatt Callow, the other male tribute in the second prequel. Elle Fanning is confirmed to play a young Effie Trinket, who Elizabeth Banks portrayed in the original films. THR also announced Molly McCann as Luella and Iona Bell as her Capital-assigned lookalike Lulu, so it looks like they're really going all in on building the world and the story. Now, about what the Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping actually covers, this prequel focuses on Haymitch's own Hunger Games experience. Since he was around to mentor Katniss and Peeta later, we already knew he was a victor, but that didn't mean his games were any less brutal. In fact, his were the 50th Hunger Games, which were pretty intense. Every 25 years, the Capitol throws in a special twist called the Quarter Quell before the Reaping, the ceremony where tributes' names are drawn. For Haymitch's games, the twist was that each district had to send double the usual number of tributes, so instead of 24 tributes total, there were 48. That means it was twice as deadly and chaotic. If you're new to the Hunger Games world, here are the basics. Panem is divided into 12 districts, and each one has to send 2 tributes, a boy and a girl, to compete in the Hunger Games. These games are basically gladiator fights where they battle to the death until only one person survives. Suzanne Collins drew inspiration from gladiators and Greek mythology when she created this world. In District 12, where Haymitch, Katniss, Peeta, and Lucy Gray Bird come from, people can volunteer to have their names put in the Reaping Bowl extra times. They do this because it helps them get food or supplies, which is a big deal since District 12 is a poor coal mining district. Now, Sunrise on the Reaping has made me more convinced than ever of a popular Hunger Games theory that's been floating around for a while. The new book really dives into what happened during the 50th Hunger Games and adds a lot of juicy details about Haymitch's victory. After the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes revealed so much about the Capitol and the backstory of characters like Snow, everyone expected Sunrise to bring some fresh perspectives, and it definitely delivered. Turns out we actually didn't know much about Haymitch's Hunger Games before. The footage Katniss and Peeta saw in Catching Fire was heavily edited to hide all the rebellious stuff Haymitch did. In reality, he was part of a secret plot to sabotage the arena, kind of like the plan Katniss found herself involved with during the third quarter quell. The book also shows that the District Rebellion actually had a bunch of false starts before Katniss really kicked things off. This lines up with a long-standing theory that some people in the Capitol were already secretly working against the system, trying to find the right person to spark a real revolution. That theory mostly focuses on Seneca Crane, the head game maker during the 74th Hunger Games. In the books, he came off as pretty ruthless, kind of like President Snow, but we don't really get a lot of insight into him, especially compared to other characters. The movies added some stuff about him, but the conversations between him and Snow in the films never actually happened in the books, so there's a lot of room to imagine. The big reveal that Plutarch Heavensbee was secretly a rebel made fans wonder if Seneca Crane might have been one too. The idea is that both game makers ran the games as usual, but were quietly watching for tributes who could make a big statement like Katniss did. If Seneca was a rebel, it would make sense that he noticed Katniss the moment she volunteered for her sister and then started setting things up to make her stand out. Of course, until Suzanne Collins writes another prequel set right before Katniss's games, we can't know for sure if Seneca was a rebel, but Sunrise on the Reaping pretty much confirms that the capital had a rebel network working for decades. Plutarch, who was born and raised in the capital and worked as a game maker, was definitely part of this. He wasn't alone either. There had to be others with the same goal. The book makes it clear that these capital rebels were trying to find someone like Haymitch to kick off the revolution. They noticed when Haymitch held up Luella's body during the tribute parade, a bold move that caught their attention. Plutarch, BT, and others tried to set Haymitch up as a hero to inspire rebellion. Sadly, it didn't pan out. Plutarch even says they needed someone like Haymitch, but luckier, to really make it happen. So they kept watching and waiting, and eventually Katniss showed up 24 years later. Since Seneca's actions in the 74th Games ended up helping the rebellion, it makes sense that he might have been involved with the rebels too. Seneca Crane, the head game maker during Katniss's Hunger Games, played a key role in shaping her into the Mockingjay, the rebellion symbol. Although he oversaw many deadly moments and tributes deaths, his actions seemed carefully designed to make Katniss stand out. For instance, during the Apple and Pig incident, Seneca ignored Katniss publicly but secretly gave her a high score, testing her potential. He also helped craft the star-crossed lovers narrative with Peeta, which became a crucial part of her story. Seneca even falsely declared that two tributes from the same district could win the 74th Hunger Games, a move he knew President Snow wouldn't allow. This was a strategic setup to highlight Katniss's rebellion when she refused to kill Peeta at the end. Overall, Seneca's manipulation of the game suggests he was quietly supporting a revolution from within. The prequel book, Sunrise on the Reaping, hints that future stories may reveal how many times rebels attempted to sabotage the games before succeeding. The prequel focuses on Haymitch's journey through the deadly 50th Games and the early sparks of rebellion led by Capitol insiders like Plutarch. With Francis Lawrence directing and Ralph Fiennes as young Snow, the film promises to deepen the Hunger Games lore and explore the origins of the uprising that eventually changed Panem forever. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.